Janet Jackson with Magic in the morning, 7:30.
Wow.
8:36 our time. Go ahead, say it so everybody can hear it again.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, well, I gaffed the cash call this morning. I forgot tomorrow was Wednesday, and I didn't put 97 cents at the end of it.
Oh, my goodness.
I was reminded by multiple listeners to fix that.
Yes.
So I did.
Good.
And last week, coming out of my test, where I scored a 50
On our conversation.
right?
Plus, we had to drop the grade a little more because you had the day wrong, too.
That's where I was going with it.
Yeah.
As I said, join us on Thursdays. And anyways.
So now you get the time wrong, cash call, cents wrong. You're really starting off in the negative world right now.
But I have coffee. So let's talk insurance. Good policies is what we call the program. Are you going to quiz me again this week?
No, I'll be nice.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
I won't quiz you.
So what are we going to talk about?
So for good policies today, I don't think we've ever we talk about the coverages of an auto insurance policy ad nauseum, right? We talk about it all the time, and we talk about it from point A to point B, where we're talking all the coverages. And this morning, I thought what I would do is zero in on one, maybe two coverages.
Okay.
All right. And what I want to talk about is property damage coverage, which is part of the liability on your policy.
Okay, so on the random occurrences that it comes in the news, I'm asking you if this is where we're going. Mm-hmm. We've had a couple of vehicles go off the roadways into houses.
Into houses, correct.
Is this
that
kind of the
is
route?
Property damage liability triggered right there. Now, remember, in auto insurance, there's two types of liability. There's split limit, where you have one limit for bodily injury per person, a second limit bodily injury per accident, and then there's that third limit, which is the one we're speaking of this morning, which is the property damage limit. Now, the other type of liability is what we call a combined single limit, which is just one total amount that would include the property damage within that limit.
Okay.
All right. So property damage, you're right. If you were driving a vehicle, property damage is going to be what covers you if you get into an accident and hit something else, whether it be a utility pole, a guardrail, another vehicle, a car, a building.
I took out a mailbox once. Not that I'm proud, but I replaced it.
Yes. Yeah. Well, that's important, right? But so what's important to think about with property damage liability, and this is more for the folks who have the split limit, right? Where you see a very specific dollar amount for property damage liability. Make sure you're choosing the right amount. In Vermont, you can go as low as $10,000 for that. I don't recommend it. And the reason being is that think about the valuable vehicles that are on the road today. So you got to think about all the scenarios. And that's what insurance is there for, right? Is to cover you for hopefully as much as possible. So if you run into a house, $10,000 is probably not going to be significant. If you run into most any vehicle this day and age, $10,000 will not be significant. Motorhomes included, utility poles. I mean, everything's expensive. So make sure you're choosing an appropriate property damage liability limit. I usually start and most times stay, but definitely start at $100,000.
I was going to say, it seemed like in a lot of our conversations, we've referenced the fact that the average new vehicle out there, not just a car, not just an SUV, but the average new vehicle costs about $50,000.
Easily, yeah.
So $50,000 is somewhat ample coverage.
Right. You're still, and the thing to remember is that your insurance is only there as the front line. It's not the end line, right? There's still you behind that. So it's to protect you. So if you choose too low, and let's say you chose $50,000 and you caused an accident and you hit and totaled a $75,000 vehicle, you're still in the hole $25,000, because even though your insurance company is going to pay max limits of $50,000, you're still personally liable. So you could be brought into court action and have, whether it be a lien or some kind of financial settlement against you, where you got to indemnify the person that you've damaged their property.
Yeah, I don't know many people that have $25,000 kicking around for an emergency like that.
Exactly.
I know I don't.
Yeah, so it's important to not go lowball on that. It's easy not to think about at the time of purchasing or acquiring insurance, but definitely something to think about. And the reason why I thought talking about that would lean into talking about what we call the uninsured motorist property damage is there is a stark contrast between the two, right?
Well, let's hear it.
So in Vermont, so of course, the liability you carry will carry as uninsured motorist liability as well. So you'll see usually matching limits of your liability to the uninsured motorist liability. But no matter what you choose for property damage liability, you're always in Vermont, in many states as well, always in Vermont going to see $10,000 as a limit. That is a static limit. That's a state statute. That's the most that can be paid out of uninsured motorist, and it's subject to a $150 deductible.
Okay, since I'm proud to admit that I don't mind being the dumbest man in the room, when one thinks of, and this is a question, when one thinks of uninsured motorist, that is somebody that causes damage to you.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So damage to your vehicle that is a result of either A, somebody hitting yourself or hitting your car with no insurance, B, somebody hitting your car with not enough insurance. So it could be almost like a supplemental beyond what their policy has paid if necessary to protect you. And then more commonly, the third one, C, would be hit and run. You're at White's Market. Somebody didn't realize they hit you, or worse off, they realized they hit you and didn't care and bugged out. And now you realize that you've got damage to your vehicle. That's going to be a hit and run, which would fall under the uninsured motorist, which is why there's a $150 deductible. It's called a nuisance deductible, because otherwise there'd be first dollar payment always available for hit and runs. Notice the quotations I'm doing here, hit and runs.
That's right, because they're not always hit and runs.
They're not always. And then if it goes beyond that limit, and you have physical damage coverage in your car, that's where the rest will come
So
out.
with the A, B, and C you just gave us, let's go back to B, okay? You said $10,000 is the common that someone has for uninsured motorist or underinsured motorist.
Yeah.
So if an underinsured motorist only has $10,000 in coverage, you have $18,000 in damage, your insurance company will take care of that balance?
It's feasible that it would come out of the uninsured motorist as an excess trigger, and maybe that the insurance company would then go after the individual who was not insured enough and personally go after them for the money back. Also have seen collision as a mechanism for this, because collision coverage can cover damage to your vehicle as well.
I'm glad you came back with that, because in our conversations, that's what you've always said, is that an insurance company will cover, but then they go after.
Yeah.
Just like when you talk about you don't have enough coverage, like you just did in this chat, you're responsible for the balance.
Right, and it can muddy up the waters a little bit, but it's a process. But of course, the insurance company is there to be your protection as well. So I've even seen cases where somebody gets into an accident, the other party's at fault. Clearly, it's been established, but something has slowed down the process, or something's not going properly, and the person says, look, I just want to file this in my insurance, have my insurance company handle this, get this resolved, have my insurance company subrogate, which is the legal term, to go get their money back from the other company or party.
All right. My head hurts again. You've taught us a lot. Tell them how to have a conversation with you.
Sure. Give us a call. 748-5224. You can find us on Portland Street in St. Johnsbury, online, thebarrettagency.com, Google, Facebook, and YouTube. Just look for Barrett Insurance Agency.
And join us Tuesday mornings at 8:35 with good policies.
Redemption. Good job.
On Magic. Ben